Hello, feral friends and fellow nature nerds. Thank you for tuning in to Dirt Dispatch number 32. I'm your host, Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara. So, here at Dispatches HQ right now, it's baby season for a lot of things, but specifically I'm thinking about the pronghorn and the deer. Now, people worry about predators eating fawns, often vilifying the predator who preys on those poor, innocent little fawns. But here's the thing. First of all, predators got to eat too, so the circle of life. Bad day for the fawn, good day for the predator, who at this time of year is also probably trying to feed babies themselves. Secondly, predators are just doing their thing, and in doing so, help keep populations of deer and pronghorn in check. Now, some people will yell about how the predators, and they're usually referring to wolves and coyotes here, are killing all the deer. But the reality is that that's never happened. Predator populations that grow beyond the ability of their environment to sustain them tend to correct themselves. And by correct, I mean that either their birth rate drops or their young starve to death. I think starvation is the number one cause of death for wolf pups. It's kind of brutal, but again, that's nature. That's the circle of life. The only predator that's ever hunted a prey species to extinction is us humans. But fawns are only truly vulnerable to predators for a very short period of time, probably less than 2 weeks. Take the pronghorn. Just 4 days after being born, a pronghorn fawn can outrun a human, and it doesn't take much longer until they can outrun most predators. But they'll spend the first 3 weeks or so hiding in the grass, only interacting with their mother for 20 to 25 minutes total per day when she shows up to nurse and to groom them. So when you see them laying in the grass and you don't see an adult nearby, they've probably not been abandoned, so don't worry. The other day I was walking across a large field and actually walked between two pronghorn fawns that were both curled, quiet, and still in the grass about 50 feet apart. Now after those first few weeks, pronghorns will form nurseries, many fawns watched over by several females who rotate those fawn-sitting duties. I've seen nurseries with a dozen or so fawns escorted by 2 does. Now, one of the interesting things about pronghorns, and my wife and I were just talking about this the other day, is that all the females tend to give birth within just a few days of each other. This is a predator satiation strategy, which is a tough thing to say. Predator satiation strategy. Say that 10 times fast. By giving birth all at once, it ensures that at least some of the fawns will escape predators and survive into adulthood. This strategy is not unique to pronghorns by any means. It's evolved in a lot of species. Producing many young, either individually or collectively as a species, ensures that at least some of those will survive long enough to reproduce themselves. Predator satiation is the reason for periodic cicada broods, those mass emergences of cicadas every 13 or 17 years. You might recall that we've had 3 brood emergences in the past 5 years. Millions of cicadas emerging all at once means that predators can't possibly eat them all before they can reproduce. Bullfrogs can lay 20,000 eggs at a time, but note that you won't come back to a spot later and find 20,000 frogs. Why? Because they didn't all survive. And while I'm sure there are other reasons why they didn't survive, getting eaten by fish or other predators is probably pretty high up on the list. Even plants use this strategy, most notably nut-producing trees. And for the record, tree nuts are often referred to as mast, M-A-S-T. So we're talking about things like oaks and walnuts and hickories and pawpaws and so on. Every 2 to 5 years, trees in a particular area will synchronize their nut production, producing an extraordinary amount of nuts. It's called a mast year. Tree nuts like acorns are eaten by a wide variety of wildlife, from tiny little beetles to birds to black bears. By coordinating their seed production, it's more likely that these seed eaters will be satiated before they can eat all the extra seeds produced during that mast year. And that means, ideally, that the rest of the seeds have a chance to sprout and grow into trees. And for a species like, say, an oak tree that relies on animals like squirrels or blue jays to carry those nuts away and stash them, a mast year means more acorns get carried off, spread over the landscape, and again, they get a chance to grow. Now, growing those extra seeds requires extra energy, so it takes the trees a few years to regenerate and replenish their own nutritional reserves. They'll still produce seeds in those intervening years, just not nearly as many. Now, how can trees synchronize, you might be asking? How do they know? Well, that's still a bit of a mystery. Now, it's known that trees can communicate to a certain extent using chemicals, basically sending out smells that can be detected by other trees. For example, a tree that's being attacked by a particular insect may send out a chemical signal that, when received by nearby trees, makes those trees boost production of other chemicals that will repel that insect. So maybe that's involved. Trees are also known to communicate with each other via underground networks of fungi. But weather can have a significant influence on mast years. A chilly spring limits the amount of flowers a tree can produce, and in turn the number of seeds that it'll generate in the fall. During an extended or severe summer drought, many trees will close the pores on their leaves to conserve water. But doing that reduces the amount of carbon dioxide the tree can capture, which is what it uses to convert into food for itself. It can't produce nuts if it can't feed itself. Which all means that changing weather patterns due to global climate change could significantly impact the frequency and timing of mast years, which will impact not only the reproduction of those mast-producing trees, but the animals that depend on them too. Okay, I know that was a bit of a tangent, but I think it was an interesting one, or at least I hope it was. So let's wrap this one up. If you want to support the podcast, well, I would greatly appreciate that. Here's some ways you can do it. Consider becoming a patron. Subscriptions start at just $5 a month, and with 3 paid months, you get some awesome Dispatches from the Forest merch. You can find all the details at patreon.com/dispatchesfromtheforest. You can donate using PayPal and my email address, dispatchesfromtheforest@gmail.com, which, of course, you can also use to email me. It's an email address, after all, if you have a question, a comment, or a request for a future episode. You can donate using the Cash App and the hashtag ForestNerd, and if you want to just send a check, that's fine too. I've had a few people ask me about that. Shoot me an email and I'll let you know my mailing address. Check out the merch store at cafepress.com/shop/dispatchesfromtheforest. Then just click on products, find something you like. Finally, you can follow Dispatches from the Forest on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm your host, Tim the Nature Nerd O'Hara, reminding you to go outside and get dirty. Dirt Dispatches is a production of Dispatches from the Forest and may not be used or rebroadcast whole or in part without express written permission.